You have to excuse me if I'm a bit careful today, because this first part of the field is absolutely soaking wet. But here's, look at these guys here. Don't know if you can see them. Absolutely soaking wet. I know, I haven't got anything for you, boy. I know you're reaching out, but oh, then here's another one. He's having a good scratch. Oh. But yes, Carol OG, good morning to you. Like I say, good morning, and of course, Happy New Year to everyone. Like I say, it is New Year's Eve. Steve K, hello to you, Happy New Year. Like I say, it's New Year's Eve, and I think officially, the first lot of true New Year's Day, I think, comes in New Zealand at, I think, about 11 o'clock UK time. Oh, Stu, that's it, sorry. Stu, good morning to you. Again, Happy New Year. Paul, good morning, comrade. Happy New Year to all. Yes, well, Happy New Year to you as well. Chatty Rat, good morning to you and Happy New Year. Tilly the Coder, good morning, Happy New Year to you. 27 Bikers, good morning to you. Happy Brexit. Yes. Pretty Bird, greetings to you and Happy New Year as well. Oh. Oops, a daisy. So this is the thing about this place now. Ever since they've moved the cows into this field, it's become an absolute muddy mess. Oh, Daily Blaze, good morning to you. Happy New Year. So this field's become an absolute muddy mess. Not that it wasn't before. Not that it wasn't before. Oh, Ronnie, good morning to you. But it's just become even worse. Become even worse. To the coder, what were the main events from your predictions in 2023? Oh, well, I think we'll go through some of that. Like I say. And like I say, I'll use this opportunity to plug my pony club, because obviously you, Tilly, are a pony club member. As those members may know, and also if you were on the Patreon as well, we did a big review of the year. And of course we dropped one this week as well, where we talked about some predictions. But I think the biggest prediction, really, I don't know if you can tell just how bad I'm having to wade through. Oh, Bakura, good morning to you. Ben, good morning to you as well. So I think the biggest prediction, really, of 2023 is I really think there's going to be a general election at some point. It's just a matter of when. Oops, a daisy. Just gotta skillfully navigate this mud. Closely, because obviously it's a bit much to wade through this mud. Like I say, it's getting even worse. And like I say, this field is pretty bad, but the next field's even worse because that's flooded again. Get onto a bit more solid ground. I can actually start paying attention to what's going on. There we go. That's a bit better. So yeah, my big prediction really for 2023 is general election. I can't say when it will be. This field has gotten even worse, sorry. As you can see, we're just completely flooded on this field. It's getting ridiculous. Oh well, just means I have to put a new pair of jeans on when I get back. Oh, anyway, never mind. That's a problem for me later. So, yes, definitely general election 2023. It just depends really on what happens really this year. I mean, we've talked numerous times before about all the challenges that Rishi Sunak faces. You've got constant rebellions, the fact that no Tory MP is truly loyal to Sunak. The May local elections, I think, will be definitely a big decider in what happens there. That's for sure. Of course, it just depends on who can really sort of, step up and step in to that position. I don't think it's going to be a very easy year for Sunak, as he himself has already admitted. I found that quite funny, to be honest. If you've seen Sunak's, or at least heard a bit of Sunak's New Year's message, he said, the problems of the United Kingdom are not going to be solved in 2023. So, he's already, shall we say, pre-preparing us for just what is going to go on, I think, down in 2023. Anyway, some more people coming to the chat now. Gaming Brit, Happy New Year to you. What else did I see? Paul, Happy New Year to you, although I think I've already wished you a Happy New Year. Ronnie, Stu, Ben, Bakura. I'm surprised the young people aren't voting Conservatives. Ooh. Oh, nearly there. I'm surprised younger people aren't voting Conservatives as they get older, like their parents and grandparents. Still, maybe it's just more delayed than before. Well, that is true, but I think you've had, I think one of the big reasons for that, because that's something I'd actually wanted to make a video about on. We are seeing that this trend of people as they get older voting more Conservative. But I think that's because you've had, for quite some time, a lot of very sort of long-living, Conservative governments in a way, and that they haven't really fulfilled on the promises, and people have sort of seen that as they've got older and have been more put off by sort of, making that switch. So if Sunak resigns instead of getting a general election, I'll continue with my tradition of drinking a bottle of wine when a Conservative PM resigns. You started with the Boris resignation. Well, like I say, you've probably had a very good wine year then. You've probably had a very, very good wine year then. Pretty Bird, I find getting older is a radicalizing experience. Very, very true. Up the gaining Brit. I just hope we undo Brexit. I don't see the short they do, and they don't deserve my vote. I will vote Labour. Phil McCracken, I only drink a month and at least 28 days left in it. Dave W, bit late for the walk, but good morning all. Wish you all Happy New Year. Well, good morning to you, Dave, and like I say, Happy New Year. I say I'm just taking it a bit steady this morning along this stretch of field, because it is getting very, very waterlogged, this field. I haven't seen it like this for quite some time. But then again, I'm sort of not surprised. Like I say, I think there's a river that runs down here, and as you know, there's one sort of just there. You can't see it, but it's a bit down there. So I'm not surprised. And well, I'm surprised it hasn't flooded more. Britt, you should be the Prime Minister. Oh, you should be Pope Father. my Mrs. Doyle impression. Stanley Beckett. The trend of voting Conservatives people get older is broken as they are not getting the capital through home ownership as previous generations did. See the FT graph on millennial voting trends. Yeah, that is also true as well. That will also be interesting to see how that trend continues as well, and how that really changes sort of voting intentions, because there've been a number of stories really going back a couple of years now about how the Conservatives are sort of doomed by demographics. And we've seen even this year a big argument in the Conservative Party that they should be giving sort of young people more things to vote for, because as you may remember when we went over that Conservative Home article, the mind-blowing experience that if we do things for young people, they might actually vote for us. You know, I loved it how it was treated as this huge, enormous revelation to the people. But that's just the Conservative Party. And they are in an absolute state at the moment. They are in an absolute state. Bakura, did you see Julia Hart-Brewer's insulting Greta Thunberg? Greta Thunberg autism. Not the biggest problem in the whole scandal, I know. But having Asperger's, I was angry. Yes, I did see you post about that, but I haven't actually seen it. To be honest. I know she's posted something about it, but I haven't actually seen the post itself. But it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you know, it's just what she's like, unfortunately. But oh my word, can we talk about that whole Andrew Tate stuff for a second? Jesus, oh my word. So, as someone who is in the online spaces, and I think, Bakura, I think we're very much in sort of the same boat, you and I. We're in the online spaces quite often, so we tend to hear about these people like Andrew Tate quite often. And obviously when they come up, it's like, why isn't he in jail? What's going on with this guy? Surely isn't karma going to catch up with this guy? And oh boy, has karma caught up to him. So, for those of you who don't know, I think a couple of years ago, he was accused, I believe it was, accused of rape. And certainly, I think, did he get accused of fraud here as well? I can't remember if it was. Or it might have been somewhere else. But yeah, he's certainly got an arrest warrant, I think, out for him from the UK. So I think that's part of the whole thing that fed into the Romanian thing. And of course, as Catho G said, you've never heard of him till this week. Well, yeah, many people probably never have. He was becoming very, very much a big sort of right-wing influencer darling, because he could do the whole, I've been cancelled. Oops, a daisy. There we go. I've been cancelled by the left. These poor guys, you can just see how drenched they've been. I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but yeah. Look at the poor boy. He's been absolutely soaked. But the whole thing, I think, really kicks off with the whole Greta Thunberg thing. Trying to get a rise out of Greta Thunberg. And then Greta just replies to him with that email address. And then I think like 24 hours later, he does this ridiculous video, which is basically summed up as, I know you have, but so have I. Something really, really childish. And then apparently, because there was in that video a Romanian pizza box, the authorities didn't know where he was, but because they've had this confirmation from that pizza box that he was in Romania, they were able to actually act on this warrant. And then apparently this has fed into another investigation that the Romanians were already on the investigating him for. So yeah, to be honest, this whole thing has just been absolutely beautiful and played out just spectacularly. And I think this morning we've got confirmation that the Romanians are actually holding him for an extended period in jail for 30 days because they're worried that he might do a runner, because that's why he ran to Romania in the first place, to get away from, shall we say, the quote fake charges, according to him, that were following him. But yeah, that's it's honestly one of those bizarre stories. But yeah, let's just say he was a person who sooner or later things were going to catch up with him, and oh boy, have they caught up with him. Daily Blaze, yeah. My New Year's resolution for the next year is not to get on the wrong side of someone who's trying to save the planet on Twitter. Yeah, don't piss off Greta Thunberg. She's coming for you. What is it? You know, I've watched Rick and Morty, and it reminds me of the whole Mr. Nimbus. You know, Mr. Nimbus, he controls the police. Don't piss off Greta Thunberg because, you know, she controls the police. But yeah, oh my, that's certainly one bizarre and yet hilarious story. And a fun end, I think, to end to 2020 on with that story. New Year's resolutions, practice guitar. I don't do New Year's resolutions. I haven't done one for years. Don't know if I should really do one or not, but... Oh yes, the other thing I want to talk about was we've heard continuing rumours about Boris's potential return to politics. I think that's going to be... Oh, did we buffer that? Oh no, we're back. I think that's going to be true. I think Boris seriously thinks he can return, and I'm not putting it past him, because I think, you know, evidence does suggest he's got a good, you know, he's got a good track record. There is a base of support for him, and it's, do the Conservatives, as we've said before, do they get desperate enough to try and reach the Boris button again? You know? But it's also, we've had rumours again that Jacob Rees-Mogg wants to run. That he wants to run for being Prime Minister as well, or at least leader of the Conservative Party. But he says he'll only apparently do it if Rishi loses the next general election. And of course, I've told you a lot, and the civil war that is still taking place in the Conservative Party over many different things, and all the factions, all the different groups that are in there that are just making it so hard for Sunak to actually lead the party. Well, thank you very much, Catho G. Happy New Year, all. Boris to launch a rejoin based leadership challenge. That could be very much true. Aliens, we've come to destroy the Earth. Greta, it's a bit late, right? No, Greta Thunberg versus the aliens. I don't think the aliens would stand a chance. I really don't think they would. But yes, please do remember to hit that like button as well and the share button as well. Like I say, we'll get more people in. So always good for sort of the last, the last New Year's walk, because we get to do the hilarious dad jokes of, I'll see you in the new year. Or as tomorrow, God, last time I saw you was a year ago. Oh, don't worry, I'll save those till the end. I'll save those to the end. But yeah, the whole conservative civil war that's going to take place, that's coming, that's already baked into the party at the moment is, it's going to be wild. And you know it's going to be, because I've been telling you all for years in this very field why it's going to be so wild and so apocalyptic to the party. I'm looking forward to still writing 2020 for a month. Yeah. Oh, Alexander, good morning to you. Oh, Bakura. Meanwhile, in America, while I've not looked into it much, Trump is panicking because his tax returns have been revealed. Yes, I forgot about that. Oh, thank you very much, Bakura. I'd completely forgotten about that. So Trump's tax returns have been revealed as well. Oh. Can see how much flooded this river is going to be. I think we're headed for a flood. I don't want it to happen, but to be honest, given the level of this river and the fact that you've got the fields badly flooded, I think we're headed to some floods, unfortunately. So that's bad news for a lot of people around this area. But yeah, Trump's tax returns. Sorry, I got distracted by the river. So yeah, Trump's tax returns. 6 years of tax returns have been released. And from what I remember, in 2020, he paid nothing. And for the rest of the years, he only paid like 500 and something. So Trump, by the looks of it, is in a lot of trouble. Because it generally looks now like the IRS are actually going to come and audit him. So Trump's in even more trouble. So when that hits him, it's going to hit him like an absolute tidal wave. There's just so many things that's just open up against him. It's just like, but this is another thing, like with the whole, Andrew Tate thing. There's been so many things following Trump for so long. You often have to wonder how and why it has taken so long for things to catch up to him. And we know why. It's because, Trump's got a lot of money and he's able to pay a lot of very, very high-priced lawyers to sort of keep these things either tied up or, shall we say, just make them go away. So that's probably certainly one reason why he was able to to do that for so long. Pretty bird. Trump is digging himself an even deeper hole every time he opens his mouth. Exactly. Exactly. He just can't shut up about it. And I think, to be honest, being president was actually the worst thing that could ever have happened to him. I really think it could have. Because now he just can't stop talking. He just needs to learn to, keep it quiet, keep it on the DL, Donald. Slink away into the background for a couple of years and, just be there in the background. But no, he can't stop talking, and you are right, Pretty Bird. He just can't keep his mouth shut, and it keeps on getting him to more and more trouble. Oh, hang on a second. We are entering the Barnsley Triangle. So if we do lose connection, don't worry. Hopefully I won't be gone long. But anyway, back to UK politics. I'm sure also you've also heard about the problem in Wales. Apparently he gave wrong directions to the Plaza lobby in Home Alone 2. Alexander Campbell. Trump's had one. Has been black. What? Saying his mother died on 9/11, going to a certain university, owning 13 properties. What? This is why, the Barnsley Triangle. British politics, boring. Santos looks like might be involved in money laundering. Yeah, it's the Barnsley Triangle. Barnsley Angle. Or Barnsley Triangle. Or Barnsley Tingle. I see the Barnsley Triangle has been farted in our direction again. Yeah. What, George Sanders is actually 3 cats and a goat. Oh. And anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, British politics used to be very boring at one point. And then, of course, 2016 happened. And ever since then, it's become this wild roller coaster of a ride. Of no one knows what's going to happen. And no one knows which direction things are going to change either. So that's certainly, it's been an interesting ride really since 2016. But the hope is, certainly after this general election, Labour's going to be a lot more sensible in what it's doing and the direction that it wants to take. But then, of course, don't worry, guys, because the fun is not going to be over, because the Conservatives, like I say, are going to be in that civil war. So I hope you're ready for some good blue-on-blue action from the Conservatives when all that kicks off. And yeah, just so you can see, I told you a few moments ago about how the river looks like it's going to be flooded. I don't know if you can see here. So, and down there, you can normally walk down there. But it has gone down a bit. Yesterday when I came down here, you couldn't see this. So the river has at least gone down a bit, but it's still pretty bloated. And of course we can't go this way because it's still flooded. Hold on to your beanie hats if you want boring back. Starmer looks set to become PM. His personality has divorced him into 1992. got the house and the dog. Cathlo G, did they have any Tory guest presenters on LBC last week? I don't know. I don't think they did. And to be honest, I don't think any of them really want to go on. I think they know that if they did, I think they'd get absolutely slaughtered by the public phone-ins. That's for certain. But I think they're all, if I'm perfectly honest, I think a lot of groups, should we say, preparing for 2023 to, shall we say, make some big moves and shakes and see what happens, because I think, as again, as you said, I think there's going to be a general election next year. I think that we are probably going to see we've had the revenge of Boris Johnson. What do you normally have in like horror movies after the revenge? Is it like the return of the revenge? I don't know. It's what like the really bad horror movie spin-off. Ooh. Is it Boris Johnson, the re-Johnsoning? Resurrection comes after revenge. So yeah. The resurrection of Boris Johnson. That's what we'll start calling it now. Because we've had the revenge. Now comes the resurrection. So I think that's generally what a lot of them are doing. Oh, Tom, good morning to you. Johnson 2.0, Johnson harder. Yeah, it would be Johnson 3.0, Johnson harder. Bakura. The thing is, while I think Labour would be better, I do personally fear them over my personal, prefer them over my personal pet issues. I think would be bad in those areas like how they support online safety bill more than the Tories. Yeah, my big fear, certainly for Labour, and of course we've got to look, obviously, if they get into power, then one of the things that Starmer really has to do is he has to really start delivering from day one. Because I think there's going to be a lot of pressure from a lot of people. I think he's going to be very, very heavily scrutinised from day one. And I think that if he fails to do it, then I don't think the Conservatives will be able to capitalise, because I still think they'll be in a mess. And I still think people would have abandoned the party in the droves. I think this is where we could see the rise, certainly, of a populist party, probably led by Farage at that point. And I think, again, if there is one, then I potentially think that the one after the general election, after this one, I think you would see a populist party led by Farage. And unfortunately, I think that if Labour fails to deliver, that's where I worry that they'd be able to take a couple of seats. That's my big worry about Labour. Because if they get in, they've really got to deliver. You know, it's fine being in opposition where you can, talk the talk. And, you can hurl your thunderbolts. But the thing is, there always comes a point where you get put in charge. And once you get put in charge, that's where you've got to start and deliver. certainly I feel Cardinal Ratzinger has died. Oh no, ex-Pope Benedict. And was he a good pope? I can't remember now. Like I say, I don't really pay attention to the ecumenical affairs. Oh, Cyrus will show him. If Starmer fails or not, the right of the party will be pushed for West Streeting to be leader. That'll be weird. Oh, although I don't know. This is one of the big things I sort of worry about, but I haven't seen at the moment, of the factionalism in sort of the Labour Party, because Starmer seems to actually have that on lockdown compared to certainly Rishi Sunak and certainly Boris Johnson, Theresa May, and even David Cameron sort of failed to get a hand on their party. Because as we very well know, and as we can see, people do not vote for a divided party. And the Conservatives are incredibly divided about that. Look, I wish we could have some more hung parliaments to have actual compromise between parties on legislation. True. But this is why we need to sort of push for more sort of proportional representation. This is why one of the things that I think is really good from Starmer is to get rid of the House of Lords and replace it with a elected body. I think that would be a fantastic way to go through, and I think we need to get the message to Starmer that if you do replace it, has to be done by PR. And you know, I've said many times before, again on the Good Morning Walk, the PR campaign for the time being should put Westminster reform on the back burner. Like, you know, obviously don't abandon it completely, you know, still keep promoting it, but they should go hardcore after the House of Lords and after the House of Lords reform, because I generally think if we have this red tsunami as we've seen in the polls, and bear in mind, of course, we have to be careful not to be tricked by this, because Theresa May, of course, was tricked by such polls of a supposed, you know, Labour wipeout. Of course, we all know what happened to her. So we have to be careful that obviously we don't fall for, you know, this nonsense. But if we do have this red tsunami and we do get this massive Labour majority, remember there was one poll, I think, that gave Labour like over 400 seats. So if we do get that, or at least a significant majority in Parliament, then that makes House of Lords reform oh so much easier. And that's where we have to be pushing for get the PR campaign in, get it in, you know, get them out and, you know, turf out the Lords, get in the electoral system. It would be so much more easier. Yeah, Stanley, he may have only one opportunity to get PR. They cannot delay it until a second term, which may never be. Exactly. This is one of the things where we really have to push for it. We really have to push for it. We cannot let this be delayed. And the thing is, if you think about it, when Starmer comes in, if there really is a general election next year, he's got a lot of problems to try and sort out. Like, let's not underestimate the amount of problems Starmer generally has to solve. So the first, obviously big one, is inflation. He needs to get inflation under control. If he can get inflation under control, then that will certainly help the strike situation. But that's another one he's got to try and sort out. He's got to try and sort of help out the strikers, get them sorted out, and especially really tackle the pay review boards, because that has been, shall we say, the big hidey hole that many of the Tories this week, when it came to talking and discussing about the strikes, their first two hide point was nothing to do with the government, it's the pay review boards. And you may remember a couple of weeks ago, we actually said that's what they would hide behind. That's what they would be desperate to hide behind, these pay review boards. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing they've got to certainly play at the next election. I've said it before, play it on a loop continuously. Just make sure that clip gets circulated everywhere in the Red Wall, and make every single Tory Red Wall MP have to justify that clip and talked about it. Ben, whilst I do want the Lords to be reformed, I want it to be a house of experts. I just don't think an elected body is the way to do that. In addition, what's the point of having two elected bodies? So, first of all, Ben, having a house of elected experts, just because there are experts in constitutional law, there are scientists, there are some generally good people in the House of Lords, that does not justify keeping them. Because for every good person, there is a Michelle Maloney, there is a Lord Lebedev, there are numerous lords who have committed multiple scandals over this year alone, and going back years and decades. You want to talk about scandals? Look at the House of Lords. The thing is that the House of Lords scandals don't get very often reported. Well, they do. They're just not brought up, unfortunately, often enough. And I wish they were. So, even though, yeah, I do agree you need a house of experts, there's no reason why under that system you cannot have those experts run for election. There's no reason why they can't run for an election. So having the House as a, or at least sort of trying to say, oh, we don't want to get rid of all that, expertise and extra. No, it's not good enough for keeping the system as it is in the case of the House of Lords. Yes, that is very true. It has been used by certain, even Tony Blair. He wanted to do House of Lords reform, and he did it. He did achieve some House of Lords reform. The thing is, he didn't follow through with the second part, because partly the party and him in that first term lost interest in following through on the House of Lords reform. This is why I've said the PR campaign needs to hit in, and it needs to keep that up. So the other part of your question was, why have a second elected chamber? Well, why not have a second elected chamber? Every other democracy in Europe, you've got America, pretty much around the world, have elected second chambers. The whole reason the House of Lords is there is because it is a leftover byproduct of essentially medieval England. Remember, there are bishops in the House of Lords. Technically, because of that, England is partly a theocracy, because we have bishops being able to make political decisions that affect the rest of us. So we should finally ditch completely this privileged house of, backwards medieval England, and just get rid of it completely. The thing about running for an elected position is that you will get people who are not experts running. Well, people technically are not experts running now for, to be an MP. I mean, Jacob Rees-Mogg's not an expert, but that goes more into the fact of you should be part of a political party and make sure that your party is putting forward these types of people. It is putting forward these people. And then the thing is, if you say, well, you can't have, or you can't run unless you've got a degree, I disagree with that completely, because that cuts thousands of people who may very well be good politicians who generally care about their communities and about the UK. That would cut them out of the running completely. So I completely disagree that that should be a requirement. I can't get behind that idea that there should be essentially a gatekeeping mechanism to stop people from running. And the thing is, yeah, you will get idiots, but then that exists everywhere in the UK. And also, there's still no guarantee that these people with degrees or even, quote, expertise in certain areas are actually even competent people. So if you want, good elected people to represent you, because we are in a representative democracy, then this is where you have to get involved with your local your local political party, and make sure that they are putting forward good, competent people. I cannot get behind the idea of there being a gatekeeper, a block that stops people from running. That's one thing I can't get behind. Because at that point, it does sort of become a bit more elitist. And I can't get behind that. Then basically I want the Commons to be the political sense with parties and so on to determine what policies get through, and the, quote, Lords to basically review the legislation to see if it will actually work. Well, technically that's what Parliament does as well. Parliament has committees of, whenever a bill sort of get introduced, it will go to a committee stage. That's where the committees look into this bill. They look at the pros and cons of it. they consider amending the bill. Does it need to be changed a bit? Does the wording need to be changed? Does it need to be make, more sense about it? So Parliament can do that. They're doing it now, but then so do the Lords. The Lords do the exact same thing now. They have their own committees. They look at it. They, put amendments. They recommend changes to it. And you can do that with a second chamber. And it should absolutely be elected. Because if you want to sort of cheat that, remember, you've got hereditary peers who are there for life because they just happen to be born into that. No, hang on, we'll not go that way. They just happen to be born into that that privilege position of it. You want the Commons to be elected by PR? Well, yeah. Why not have a second house elected by the same thing? And have it as a, as I've said before, a house of regional representatives. Well, I have to excuse me if I'm not looking at the screen because this area has gotten quite muddy and it's quite flooded, so it's a bit difficult for me to navigate. So excuse me if I don't look at the screen while I'm talking. But most of what you've been saying there, Ben, is by people who are desperately trying to keep the Lords for really unjustifiable reasons. I cannot see there is no justification for keeping the Lords, certainly as is, and it should absolutely be reformed into an elected body. Because if we had an elected body that was by PR, and you had this regional representation, let's say, for the sake of argument, you have the situation we're in now, where you've got a Conservative Party with a very big majority. If you had a PR second elected house, they would have found it very, very difficult to pass legislation that they have done without it being amended, or with at least out it being, knocked back, because they wouldn't have had sort of the support they would have had in the House of Lords. And we've seen certainly Boris Johnson use some very clever and cunning tricks to try and get stuff passed via the House of Lords, such as introducing a bill late into the evening because they know that Lords tend to go home in the evening and they don't like doing long sessions, which is again another reason to change it to an elected body. They're more accountable for situations like that. So I am absolutely fully on board with a full Lords reform. Get it turned. Oh, Stu K, welcome to the Pony Club. Oh, there we go. I think it would be a fantastic idea to get, to get PR going, to get it up and running, especially in the House of Lords, because if you do that, you then can get it really motivated. But Ben, I agree, get rid of the Lords as is, but I think the Lords should be a non-hereditary, non-political reward for decades of experience in the field, with well-defined rules for it. Again, how do you police that? And how do you know you don't say, well, you've done years of decades of service, and then once he gets into the Lords, turns out he's completely corrupt. We've seen that. We've seen that open. Michelle Maloney, lifetime peerage, was, meant to be absolutely fantastic. Decades of service. And yet, look what happened to her. You cannot have, and it should never, ever be here's a lifelong succession to the Lords. Because how do you police that? How do you then say, well, I'm going to give, these 10 people who might be, cronies, let's say, if it's Boris Johnson, he's, the 5 people that supported me the most, here's the crony stuff. Exactly, it's who decides. And I think this is why it should be up to the public to decide who sits in this new sort of house of regional representatives. That's why it should be based on PR, and again split into regions, and that way each region can have a say, and you will get different varying voices. We've got, in Yorkshire, we've got the Yorkshire Party, which, to be face it, is a bit of a pipe dream, but they also did come second in the recent South Yorkshire mayoral election, so, we'll give them that. But you'd probably get maybe like 1 or 2 Yorkshire Party members sitting in that house to back up their second, their voices. It would be a different from the usual party political one. I think that would certainly bring a lot more views and value to having a second elected house, because these people should be held accountable. And that's why, again, I can't get behind the fact of like there being some sort of, gate that people have to pass through, or that there's, it should be just handed out to people who do a good work. I can't get behind it. So, as always, guys, hang on. There you are. Pony's having the breakfast. There you go. So, I do hope you have had an absolutely fantastic. I do hope that we've had a sort of fantastic good morning walk this morning. And I hope you've had a fantastic year. I hope you've had a fantastic year. I hope you've enjoyed all our good morning walks that we've had this morning. Like I say, links down below for Patreon page, etc., etc. You know the drills by now. You've all been on YouTube long enough to know when I say, hey, look, if you want to support the channel, links down below. But if you want to support it another way, hit the like, hit the share button. If you are new to the stream, hit the subscribe button. Remember to ring the bell so you get notifications of when we go live, of all that good stuff, so you're prepared for the new year. And yeah, we'll see you in the new year. So yeah, I will see you all in the new year, because I think 2023 is going to be interesting, to say the least. I hope you enjoy yourselves all this evening. Of course, not too much, as they say. Enjoy your evening festivities, however you are going to celebrate them. I probably won't, to be honest. I haven't celebrated New Year in quite a while, so I'll probably be in bed by 10. I'm going to watch tonight the Knives Out: A Glass Onion, because I watched the first Knives Out yesterday. I really enjoyed it, so I really want to see what Glass Onion's like. But yes, and as Pretty Bird says, remember to drop a comment after the stream ends, because it helps with the algorithm. New Year's stream, ? Maybe, I don't know. I'll see. I'll see if I can gather some troops, see if anyone's interested in a New Year's stream, because I don't want to sit by myself. I don't want to sit by myself for a couple of hours, but we'll see. We'll see if I can organise something. I'll see. I'll let you know if I can organise something, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for all the support you guys have shown me this year. It's been absolutely incredible. And we'll see you in the new year. for the first good morning walk of 2023. And oh boy, 2023 is going to be a doozy. So, as always, guys, we'll see you all very soon next time.